as it's back to hot tub season, you do need a few things to get your hot tubs back up and running. I'm going to cover a few of the different things to clean, prepare, and also maintain, because remember, you've got to get the chemicals right. You've got to do a few things to keep your hot tub running well. Well, this will apply pretty much to any make, model, type of hot tub, all that kind of thing. Going to go through a few things. Keeping your pump clean. Now and again you need to descale it and run cleaning solution through it, so I'll be showing you how to do that later. Great little gadget as well that I've got hold of, and I'll show you that in a bit. But on your general usage of it, you need to keep an eye on the chemicals. So I'm going to show you the chemicals that I use and how I check them out and maintain it. Here we go. Now this looks like quite a pile of chemicals. I tend to buy the bigger bottles just because they work out a little bit cheaper when you buy them if you buy the big tubs. And let's face it, you will end up working your way through them. So I'm going to tell you the first bits that you need to remember, and that is your chlorine. Now you see I've got two sets here. I've got chlorine tablets and chlorine granules. I tend to use the chlorine granules for the initial shock treatment. Now that's when you first fill it with water from your tap, and for the first day or so, to 2 days I think it was, you need to shock treatment. So that's putting a large amount of chlorine in just to kill it off and prepare it, and that does mean you can't use the tub for 2 days. So when you first fill it with water, you give it a good shock treatment of the granules and run the heater, run the pump, and leave it for a couple of days, and that should get your hot tub ready to go. After that point, then what you do is you use chlorine tablets, generally in one of the doser devices. I'll show you that in a second. And that one is where you just maintain a regular safe chlorine level. So we'll come back to that a little bit later on. The one at the top there, MSpa and anti-foam. That's quite good because when you run the pump on your hot tub, you will notice foam starts to appear every now and again. Now that foam is actually made up of makeup, oil products, pretty much anything that we normally do when we go in the bath or shower at home and use products to clean ourselves. Well, that's what produces the foam that appears in your hot tub, and this just counteracts it a little bit so you don't end up with a huge bubble bath. So that's what that one's there for. Now this one here, scale stop. Now I live in a very hard water area. I can tell that because you can look at the taps in the house and they've got that limescale build up. You can also look at the bottom of the kettle, and that's an important one because the bottom of the kettle in our house is quite badly corroded with limescale. And the thing is, that's exactly what happens inside the hot tub heater element as well. All of that nasty scale builds up and it'll eventually damage your heater. I'll link to a video down the bottom, which is what I did when I took apart a heater on one of my old hot tubs, and that'll show you. But that basically, you add a little bit of this to your water when you first set the tub up, and that will help take some of that hardness out of the water. It's a water softening agent, and that should maintain a better heater element for your hot tub. Finally, now I've only got pH minus reducer chemical here. Now you may also need a pH plus, and that's so you can keep the pH level as neutral as you can. Remember, our bodies like somewhere around, I think it's about 5 to 7 pH. I'll double check that. I'll put a bit of information in the description on all of this, so you can maintain the pH. Now, how do you know what level of chemicals to use? I'll show you how you know. It's important not to just guess this. What you need is a pH testing kit like this. Now they come in little bottles or bags or whatever, but what you're after is a set of colour scales that you can test. And what you do is you take one of the test strips like this, and you can see it's got 3 little markers on the end, and all you do is dip that in the hot tub for a few seconds, take it out, don't shake it, and then you compare the 3 against the 3 markers here, and they will tell you. So this one, the top one, is the free chlorine, so that's to do with our chlorine levels. The middle one is our pH, so that's where we use our pH plus and minus. And at the bottom is the total alkalinity, which is the overall balance of all of your chemicals in the hot tub. Ideally, you want these in all okay ranges. So let's try that, and I'll show you what mine shows. Now ideally you hold it flat like this so that the water stays on it a few seconds. I'm going to have to tip it so I can show you on camera. And what you can do is you then compare each piece of the strip against it. Now you can see the top one is very, very faint. So the top one, if we follow along the symbol, is actually right at the bottom end of the free chlorine level, and that shows, and I've done this on purpose actually, what I've done is I haven't put chlorine in the last couple of days, and you can see the chlorine level has dropped down, so that is not in the OK zone, so we need more chlorine. We then go on to the pH. The pH is looking almost bang in the middle there. The value is about 7.2 according to this testing kit. So that looks about right for our pH, and our alkalinity is a little high, but that could also be because of the chlorine being out as well. So what this is telling me is we need to add chlorine, and that means we need the chlorine tablets and the chlorine doser. So I'll get that and we'll add that. Here it is, here's the chlorine doser. You can see along the bottom you can change the size of the hole. That varies the amount of chlorine that will get transferred from the tablet into the hot tub. Now this is quite a large version of one of the chlorine dosers. You can see this holds a lot of tablets. Now yours will probably be a lot smaller than that one, but they all do the same thing. Now just to supersize the other part is I also have huge chlorine tablets, and you can see generally they're a lot smaller than this, but this is just purely the packaging that I've got, and it fits with my chlorine doser. So all you do, open the top. Now if you do have sensitive skin, I do warn you, chlorine is quite a nasty chemical. You may need to wear gloves to do this, or just do what I do here, drop it in, don't touch it, and then you can put the lid back on. Move that out of the way. And I've got that set to about half, and all you do is you just let that float inside the tub like that. Simple as that. So that will now be starting to dose chlorine into the pool, and that should raise our chlorine levels. Now generally keep testing it, see if you're too high, too low on the chlorine amounts, and adjust accordingly. So vary that little adjustment at the bottom to either increase or decrease the amount of chlorine. Oh, and don't forget, when you go to use your hot tub, take this out. Do not leave this in the hot tub when you're sat in it. The reason being is this is a concentrated chlorine block. Concentrated chlorine is not a safe chemical. You don't want it directly in contact with your skin. So take it out, put it to one side safely whilst you use the hot tub. When you're finished, put it back in again. Simple as that. The other option is, if you don't use the tablet, you can continue to use these granules. You generally want about a teaspoon to a tablespoon per hot tub every couple of days, I think. Again, what you do is keep using your test kits and make sure it's right. When you add granules, it's a good idea to turn on the bubbles, the massage system, something to circulate the water in your hot tub so that it gets mixed in. You don't want the granules suddenly clumping into a ball at the bottom of the tub, because it'll also discolour the markings on the inside of your hot tub. That's if you use granules, but it works just as well, so it's just as easy. As with the granules, the pH reducer, that's actually a chemical, but you can get granules as well. Similar to that, add small amounts, tends to be teaspoon to tablespoon amounts. Same with the scale stop and the antifoam. The antifoam you only need to use a tiny amount, and you just add them, wait a day, test the chemical levels, and make sure you keep an eye on them. Oh, and by the way, make sure, safety, always keep the caps and covers on all of these. They are dangerous chemicals. You do want to keep them out of the way and protected, generally out of sunlight and heat as well. So in the shed or somewhere safe to just store them. This next one is very important, and that is to do with the filter that is on your hot tub. The filter is very important. It stops debris going into the pump and damaging the pump. And you can typically tell when your filter has got a problem. If your pump keeps stopping and doing E02, which is water circulation failure error, then it's probably that your filter is getting clogged. You do want to swap that, I would say, every 1 to 2 weeks. That often. That's certainly how often I change mine. And what I do is I keep several of them. You can clean them and keep reusing them if you're careful with them, so you're not having to constantly spend. So I'll show you the filter on mine now. Once it's drained off like that, top tip, don't open it over the top of your hot tub, because then you're going to pour the debris that the filter has just collected back into the hot tub. So go and do it somewhere where you can empty the contents. Open the filter. Now your filter may vary a little bit from mine, but this is the standard, I think it's called Mark III filter, and you can see that the filter has caught all sorts of debris in there. It's got little bits of limescale that it's caught, it's got hairs, it would have makeup. That's what discolours it as well, by the way, makeup and the oils that I was mentioning before. And it all collects in here, and you can see it does build up. So this one is, I'd say, ready to change. Don't leave it too long to change your filter. The longer you leave it, the more likely you are to cause damage to your pump. So I'm going to change this one. In this instance, I've got a new filter to fit onto this one, but I'll also show you cleaning the old one, because it only takes a few minutes and it's definitely worth doing. So buy yourself a pack of them, maybe 3 or 4, and just rotate them. Just keep cleaning them and looking after them, and they'll last forever, to be honest. I do keep mine for a very long time. Actually, whilst you're doing this as well, sometimes clean the inside of here. Just needs a little spray from your hose pipe or anything, but just keep it nice and clean. The more you look after this, the more you're looking after your pump. And believe me, it's cheaper to replace these and the filters than it is to keep fixing that pump. Oh, and by the way, turn your pump off when you change the filter. You don't want it sucking all of the rubbish in whilst you're changing your filter out. So mine's been turned off. So let's power it back on again. And just check when you power it back on that you've got a bit of water flow coming through there, and it seems to be working properly, which that one looks like it's working good now. I'm going to show you, this is how I clean the filter. Very simple. Just get a hose with a strong jet. And just work your way through, the idea being to try and get rid of the debris out the bottom of it. Generally, if you do this, it should get it good enough that you can use it again next time, and they do last a long time if you keep doing this, and it does work. So a little tip there. Remember, every time you finish with the hot tub, put the cover back on. Mine's in a pretty bad state, but this is what helps keep the heat in and stops you having to use the heaters too much. So the better that the insulation is around the hot tub and on the top of it, which is where all the heat escapes from, the less you'll have to heat and the cheaper it'll be, because we all need to save a little bit of money at the moment on the electricity. So every bit of insulation you can do, the better. Now, you know that I've put mine inside a summer house with a roof, walls, insulated walls, and the difference has been huge in terms of the electricity needed to heat my hot tub. So if you can build any type of surround around it, even fence panels to stop the wind blowing against the sides and cooling it, will make a big difference to your electricity bill. And on that, I'll show you another little tip on trying to keep the energy usage down. So like a lot of you probably won't be using your hot tub throughout the night and also throughout the day when you're out at work. So why have the hot tub running at top temperature, which is hard work for it to do, when you're not going to use it? So the best option for that is turn the temperature down. If I'm not going to be using the hot tub, I turn it down to 34. 34 seems to be a good in-between temperature that can be maintained without a lot of energy use. Now, it might vary for you, so experiment with it. But what I've found is at 34 degrees, I can then switch it up to 37, which is the temperature we like to use the hot tub at, 37, 38. And it'll do that in 2 to 3 hours. So come home from work, turn the temperature up, and it'll be ready for you when you want to use the hot tub later that evening, and you've saved an awful lot of electricity during the week by doing that. Now, there is another way of doing that, and that is using a clever smart scheduler like my hot tub manager unit, which I'll put a link down the bottom, which allows you to control your hot tub from your phone. And it's something that I've created to work with the LazySpa hot tubs. So if you want more information, have a look at the link down the bottom. That allows you to turn on and off the heaters when you want, without having to come and press the buttons on the panel. So that helps things out, and let's face it, we all need to save a little bit of energy now and again, and that's the way to do it. Don't run it at 40 degrees all the time. 40 degrees is really difficult for these hot tubs to maintain that temperature. Even dropping it down a few degrees will make a difference to your energy use. So there's a little tip in terms of keeping it nice and warm when you want to use it. Turn it up and down. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to clean and descale your hot tub pump. It's a good idea. Do it a couple of times a year, and definitely before you pack it away, and also before you set it up for the new season. So I'll show you how to do that. And one of the first things that you've got to do is when you get the pump out, and also before you put it away, it's a good idea to clean it and descale it, because inside the pump there's the heater, and I think I've shown you in the past, there's all of the pipe work here. You've got the heater, you've got the pump down the bottom, and they can all get pretty clogged up, especially if you live in a hard water area where
it will scale up exactly like a kettle. So if your kettle and taps do get scaled up, then this is something that you need to be aware of, that your hot tub will suffer from as well, and it can eventually stop the heater from working. It also reduces the efficiency, so right now you want this to be running at maximum efficiency, and here it is. This is the easyscale gadget, and it's from Kelvinsgadgets, and he's very kindly sent me this through so I could give it a try, because I need to do this quite regularly, because as you know, I live in a hard water area. It's damaged quite a few of these, and he reckons that this will do the job, and I think he's right, because first of all, you're best off running a descaling solution through it. Now when you get this, you actually get a pack of descaling solution with it, which is good. You actually get some replacement O-rings as well, which is really useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the instructions, connect it up to the hot tub, and we'll give it a go, see how it works. So the first thing you do, and you'll probably notice that the easyscale has actually got a few different threads on it. What you do is you match them up with the tyre pump you've got, and you just swap them round like that. So you see that one's ready to go. Before you put it on, you stick the additional little washer into your pump fittings, make sure it gets a nice snug fit. Ideally you could also put a bit of silicone grease in there just to make them go on nicely. Now you don't want to tighten these too much, definitely don't want these over tightened because they will damage. There we go, that's on nicely. That's about hand tight. Now what I need to do is fill it up about 2 inches below the top of this with water. So I'm going to add some cold water now. That's it added in. Now the instructions suggest to tip the unit back. You can hear it gurgling away as it just helps get it in. And then what we're going to do is top it up again. That looks good. And you can see we're fine, we don't have any leaks. So next bit is to test for leaks. Now got this plugged in, connected. Let's turn on, and I'm just going to press the filter button. So I'm just going to press the filter, which is the water circulation button, and let's see how this goes. I can see it swirling backwards and forwards really nicely. Need a little bit more water in actually. There we go. You can see the water's in at the top, and the pump is quite happily circulating away. Hasn't errored out or anything like that. And I think what we can now do is we can add our descaling solution. And now we turn the heat on at 35 to 40, and we run this for about half an hour, and that should get rid of all the scale. So that's a really simple way of doing it. So what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description down the bottom to this unit, because it does make it a bit easier, and you can see it just fits on, works straight out the box, and it makes sure that your hot tub pump is nice and clean. So yeah, I think that's a thumbs up from us. And we run that through for about half an hour, just running it at 35 to 40 degrees, so it gets the water nice and hot, lets the descaler do its job, which is what we're after here. So I've got to say thank you to kelvinsgadgets for sending this through free of charge for me. I think that's a thumbs up from us. It does the job. What I'll do is I'll put a link down the bottom in the description on where you can get them from, because it does make things a little bit easier for cleaning it out, and just making sure that you don't have scale or anything getting caught up in your pump, and it will make sure that the heater does last longer, because that is one of the worst things. Scale building up on the heater inside these does cause them to fail fairly quickly. So if you do live in a hard water area, this is a good recommendation from me.
So there we go. That should help you sort out your hot tub, maintain it, keep the chemicals right, and look after it, and also stop those E02 pump errors. If you keep on top of all of this, then you shouldn't have problems throughout the year whilst you use your hot tub. So fingers crossed that all works for you. If you do have any comments, or if you've got any more tips, please put them in the comments down below. And also please do help the channel out by subscribing. If you do subscribe, it does help me make more and more videos for you. Or if you've got anything specific, put it in the comments. Let's see if we can help. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.